allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start off the meeting with public comments. Anything that's set for a public hearing? Pick it up.
Yeah, I'm Penny Kerr. I know a lot of folks, for any of you that don't know me. And I know all of you are working diligently in the WAC on water issues on the island. I just want to give some observation, a few minutes of observation since I live sort of right at the water table on Condon Road. It's now the end of the summer going into fall. And our pond level is above flood in spring. So we had a very wet year, and I'm quite concerned about what's going to happen with another winter of snow and rain and bringing levels up even higher. So I did invite Peter Grant and Joe Fenora over this spring and had them sit on the front deck, and we discussed the water situation we're in, and our house basement flooded. I'm sure many of my neighbors were flooded, but they don't necessarily share that information for whatever reasons. So I just, as you all are considering all the different options and things that are available, as we really, all of us seriously try to solve this problem with clean drinking water and our septic issues, that when I hear that we may be pumping water up from below the hill, the top of the hill here, up here, and adding even more water to what's already here. It really concerns me because I'm already in a flood. And things like every time a big tree comes down up here, it affects what's going on downstream. Every time the curb is built up, so the water goes right down 114 like a canal. And a rainstorm, it goes right to Lily Pond, and it just floods everything. And that didn't used to happen because it would divert into these sinkholes that have been filled in. So my concern is that anyone who wants to is welcome to come, and we'll show them our pond and after 23 years of living there and watching the levels go up and down, what's sort of normal. I'm quite willing to share that with any of you, and that when you think about pumping into it like a common municipal system up here, I really hope you don't personally. I hope you do well water here, and because I'm very concerned about the flooding that will occur. And it already is occurring, but I think it will get worse. So that's basically all I wanted to say. I'm a little concerned about Suffolk County Water Authority getting involved in, because, I don't know, I just see them, I don't know, I wish there was a way we could know more about what they're doing over at the golf course, because I see them digging more trenches, and I'm just wondering if they're having problems or what the situation is there. So is there some place we can get that kind of information? And I'm concerned about this possible welfare. So that's basically all I wanted to say, just heads up from somebody who's at the bottom of the hill.
Just for your information, on September 20th, I believe is, let me just double check the date. September 20th is the next West Neck Water Board meeting. And so Joe Picorni, who comes from Suffolk County Water Authority, will be there to give an update. So he will be able to address, yes.
Okay, I'll let you know.
At 3 p.m. Anyone else from the physical audience who wishes to speak on anything?
Jack Costello, on behalf of Patrick Loftus Hills. I just want to get this application back in front of the town board and offer my assistance in explaining or doing a site visit to go over the plans if there's any confusion, to kind of get this thing back on track, because there's been quite a bit of confusion. And the property has sustained a major amount of damage at this point. A minor job that is getting bigger and bigger. So I just wanted to make myself accessible to you guys. My contact information, I'm sure Meg has, and I'd be willing to meet all of you or any of you at any time on site.
Jack, could you give us a review of the history of the project? When did this start or?
Albert, we're going to have a public hearing on that, so we shouldn't be discussing the application at this point in time, but we are planning on setting the public hearing on Monday night. So we're scheduling 2 wetlands applications for public hearing on Monday night, so that scheduling on the 16th and the application will be heard on October 7th.
And that's one of them that he's referring to.
Yes,
Okay.
that one, yeah, that one has priority just because it has been in the hopper. A little bit of delay with moving the jurisdiction from the planning board back to the town board and getting our ducks in a row there. So we apologize for the delay, but we are getting back on track for processing.
Okay.
Thank you, Amber.
Anyone else from the physical audience? Anyone else in the Zoom audience?
Angelo has his hand up, but you can't see
Oh.
it because you're.
Oh, I forgot to put
There you go.
All right, Angela?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi, how's everyone doing today?
okay.
Just checking in when we'll be discussing the IA systems again and what triggers a mandatory installation.
We adjourned that public hearing so that we will be reopening it on Monday night, a little after 6 PM.
So that's Monday the 16th?
Yes, yes, because,
Monday the-
yes, because this meeting went so long, last public hearing, with everything going on, we adjourned it so that the public who had to leave early that evening would be able to come back in and speak on it.
Okay, so Monday the 16th at 6. And how about the melding issue? When does that get discussed again?
The merger authority, yeah, the merger authority, I have to look, I haven't thought about that one in a week or so. I think we are going to set the public hearing on Monday night, so that would be October 7th.
Okay. And how do we get the how do we get on the board's agenda to to look back at the rental codes and how we can refine them so they work for the taxpayer?
We haven't picked that one up yet. I will take a look at scheduling it. We are trying to get through the comp plan as well as just the regular general business. And then we start budget season starting in October. So it may not take place until November, just to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, so if you could try to get it scheduled in, so we have something that's workable for next summer, that would, I'm sure all the taxpayers would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam?
Yes, good afternoon. I just have a quick question as well on current code revisions. Is there any news on when the wetlands code revisions will come back before the board? Has the subcommittee had another meeting on that? Because the last draft is about a month old now.
There hasn't been an update. I'm not on that. If you are on. But I know we're in the process of hiring an environmental consultant who's going to help us with that wetland applications, as well as we want this person to take a look at our current code. So there's a couple of things going on, but we're moving forward in that direction. So it should be.
Yeah, our next step, I think, was to have the consultant look at it.
Mhm, yeah.
Now, is this the same consultant, PW Grosser, that's on retainer with the town, or is this a consultant that we're not aware of, a new consultant?
Someone new that we're in negotiations with.
We interviewed her and we all kind of agreed to go ahead and.
I have an update for you
Okay.
in executive session.
Absolutely.
Yes. So it's not ready for prime time yet. Hopefully by Monday night.
Okay, and there would be a resolution for that hire for that consultant, correct?
Yes, because it's a contract that a retainer contract that needs to be signed. So yes,
Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome. Anyone else? Okay.
Just a question. Do we have any updates from Ken Lewis on picking up the dump?
Yeah, I was going to go over that when we go around the table.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, I have it on there. So anyone else for the public portion? If not, Joe Fenora is here to give us an update on dredging. It's moving forward. We're at the mercy of the county to come in and pick dates, so we did here last week. So I asked Joe to come in and just let us know, because there will be some road closures or beach closures and things like that. So
Yes.
take it away, Joe.
Christina's going to pull up a sketch for you in a minute. But I'm happy to say that the county is here. They've mobilized their dredging equipment to West Neck Harbor, and we've started as of yesterday over at Dickerson Creek. When you see the drawing in just a second, we can go over exactly what areas are going to be worked on. But there we go. So, okay. So there's 3 areas that are going to be included in this program. They're going to be the approach channels for the entrance to West Neck Harbor, and then the channel for Menantic Creek, and also the entrance channel for Dickerson Creek. They're going to be dredged through a combination of hydraulic and mechanical equipment, and the material is going to be used for nourishment to the Wades Beach area and also the exterior of Shell Beach. So all of the material will stay on site. We're going to be assisting with some local equipment and manpower in moving this material as it's brought up from the channels. But largely the work will be done by the county's specialized dredging equipment. The schedule as it stands is that we will begin at Dickerson Creek. We will then move to the main entrance channel for West Neck Harbor, and then Menantic Creek will be the last channel to be dredged. The work is expected to be finished by the middle of October, and there will be some maneuvering of equipment as we move from site to site. So we're asking for some flexibility between mariners, pedestrians, and motor vehicles in some cases. The largest impact will be the short-term closure of Shell Beach, the road, and also for safety reasons, we're going to close it to pedestrians on days when there is work moving material up and down from the point to the nourishment area. We'll hope to provide some more advanced notice of this, but it's likely in the next week or two that Shell Beach will be closed for about 5 days while this work is going on. The main reason for the closure is that the material will be dredged from the point, but we're moving it down the beach by vehicle to the nourishment area. So because there's going to be equipment moving up and down the road, we thought it prudent to just sort of close the point for all pedestrian and vehicle traffic while that's happening. I have some totals here for numbers in terms of how much material is going to be moved. I don't know if that's of interest, but the West Neck channel, main channel, is going to be about 4,000 cubic yards of material. The Menantic channel will be about 25,000 cubic yards of material.
Leave your message for 6318.
And the Dickerson channel will be about 9,000 cubic yards. And as I said, all the material will stay on site. We'll use it to nourish areas that are typically prone to erosion, where we have losses. The biggest impact I think that the public will notice is that Wades Beach will be bigger at the end of this project. We'll be adding material, and they're being very mindful of keeping the grade and the appearance of the beach, so it would just project further out, which hopefully will be perceived as a good thing. I think it's a good thing to have more beach area, as a park. I don't really have any other notes here other than that this is a great project. We're really thankful to the county and for the WMAC for staying on top of advocating for our channels. We have a really nice relationship with Suffolk County Department of Public Works, which is providing the equipment and labor for this, and it's done at no cost to the town. So this is really a tremendous program that we're grateful of, because we don't have the resources to do this, on our own. We should see improvement for navigation in the area because of the channel deepening, but we should also see water quality improvements in both, in really throughout the harbor, because we're increasing flow both at the main entrance, but also at places like Menantic and Dickerson Creek, where those areas have historically been a little bit choked out as the sediment builds up.
How far are we going up Menantic Creek, Joe?
We're trying to
Are
get.
they going up Menantic
We're
Creek?
trying to get a little bit past Tar Kettle, the public access at Tar Kettle. And Tar Kettle happens to be a stop because the county's bound by dredging to where public access is and also what the material type is. So before the dredging starts, and part of the permitting process includes taking samples of the material. Right around the Tar Kettle area is where we transition from sand to a silty sediment, and that's the stopping point where they can't move the material anymore. So so they're going to get as far as they can, and they've agreed to go as far as they're permitted to do so. So hopefully it'll be a few hundred feet, maybe past Tar Kettle, but that's really the obligation to stop is right around there.
Thanks.
Chuck, don't worry, I won't make any jokes about being up the creek without a paddle. But I really want to thank you for your hard work on this, because this is a great project and it's free and it's a great thing for Shelter Island. So definitely, thank you. I had one question about the nourishment area on Shell Beach. Sandy blew a hole there back in whatever Sandy was. And there certainly has been talk about maybe putting in a culvert or some sort of channel and a bridge. Will adding the nourishment there help or hinder that?
The reopening of flow there, well, the nourishment will certainly thicken the landmass there and make it more robust. So if we were to consider installing a culvert or some sort of through flow, it would be a larger piece of infrastructure at that point. But we don't currently have any plans to open up Shell Beach. I know it's discussed now on a number of committee level ideas about whether this would help flow for West Neck Harbor. I understand historically there have been openings there in the past, both as recently as Sandy, but also maybe decades earlier. But that's not currently a capital project that the town is considering. And at this juncture, we want to move as much material there as possible to keep the road stabilized. That the nourishment area that the arrow is going to now is somewhat loose, but if you're driving down, you'll notice there's those Gabion installations that have done a really nice job at holding the road stable. And we tend to have the most erosion during fall and winter nor'easter events just past where those Gabions are. So it's a good thing that they're working, but that's a kind of a vulnerability now. That's where most of the material will be going.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Joe, I have two questions for you.
Yep.
Are you guys going to re-nourish Shell Beach before Wade's Beach? Or are you gonna?
Wade's Beach is happening right now. Yeah, so the material from Menantic and Dickerson Creek are going to Wade's Beach, and the material at the main harbor entrance is going to Shell Beach. So that should have started today at Wade's Beach. They've removed the swim ropes. We put up a number of signs to help people know, to avoid the area. But it's somewhat of a dynamic process. They're pumping the material from the channel across the shallow areas there close to shore, and then it lands on the beach and they move it around. So they'll work their way down the beach systematically as the material comes in. So it's kind of like a combing effect from sweeping from one end to the other. So it'll extend really from that sandy area of Dickerson Creek right at the mouth all the way to Wade's Beach. It'd be the full length of beach over there.
And then can you explain how the dredging will impact the entrance to West Neck Creek? Because I know that there's a marina there. Are they going to shut down the creek at any point? Is it going to be closed because of piping or?
Menantic, you mean?
Menantic, yeah, sorry.
So that's the last one. That's the last task of this project. So they're hoping that by pushing this into October, it'll have less impact. They're talking about it being like a 5 to 6 day window of work. So if they can start that on a Monday, potentially they're wrapping up by the end of the week. Folks at the marina have been pretty accommodating. I think we're trying to do the best we can to minimize impact there. But there likely will be, times where it will be inaccessible from marine vessels.
Okay.
It's the barge is fairly large, the channel's fairly narrow. But I think that'll be limited to maybe a day or two where we're right out front. And, we'll make sure it's during the week. But I would say largely, we've had a lot of positive reactions to this. I think folks understand there may be some downtime and inaccessibility, but at the marina, for instance, they welcome the deeper channels and better access.
I just want to make sure people are aware that there might be days where they
Yes.
can't get down the creek.
Yes, and if you see this contraption, it's quite large, it's quite noisy, and moving material from Menantic Creek, for instance, will be gigantic pipes that run from the dredge machine down to Wade's Beach. So it'll be focused in the shallow areas, but it is quite big, so we're asking people to keep a safe distance and to be aware when they're operating in the area.
Just one last question. I know like when they've got the pipes going, are there like markers out there just to, I know someone was kayaking or someone rowing their boat recently, and so they didn't know whether they could cross or not. So is there anything that like warns people?
Yes, there should be lots of signage and lighting while they're operating. And I can't speak to what was observed at that particular time. I'm hopeful though that was a one-off and maybe part of their mobilizing effort. That
Yeah, it was definitely when they first showed up.
Bringing the
yeah,
equipment
so,
in.
but they're trying to minimize any interference with existing channels, keeping the pipe and the equipment off to the side in the shallow areas so that there's no obstacles. People should be able to observe the traditional navigation routes in and out of the harbor while they're working with very few exceptions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone in the public who has any questions on this? Anyone in Zoom?
Yeah, Joe.
If you could come up, Bill, sorry.
Sure. Bill Garrity, Chairman of the Waterways Management Advisory Council. Are they going to restrict access to West Neck Harbor River?
We don't believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be enough room to go around. Yeah. West Neck will be done mostly mechanically from shore. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anyone in Zoom? Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
I'm going to rearrange the agenda a little bit because I do see that Phil is here, and when we were making up the order of events on Friday, didn't realize you had a time constraint. So I'd like to pick up the dot code revision so that you can get out of here.
Afternoon, Town Board members. Tina, Bill Garrity, Chairman of the Waterways Management Advisory Council. I've been asked to highlight some of the changes to the proposed Chapter 53 dock legislation that were made as a result of the town attorney's review. Most of the changes were organizational and formatting, moving certain portions around. The wording, a couple of sections was changed, but nothing substantive. Most significant changes were to the penalties section. We had moved the penalties section to the beginning of the chapter to have it together with enforcement, which was at the beginning of the chapter. Stephen has moved both to the end of the chapter. So they are now at 5317 and 5318. Also, the amount of fines was changed. We had drafted it with a multiple of permit fees. If there was a permit violation, then the fine would be a multiple of that permit fee. Stephen established flat fee amounts for each potential fine. There was also a contractor fine that was added at 5318-18E. So there's a specific provision now to cover contractors. Under enforcement, the pre-existing dock inspector section, which was in the original code, the current code, at 53-13C, that's been moved to enforcement now at 5317. As far as fees, the section on fees has been reduced to a single sentence, basically authorizing the town board to establish fees. That's 53-5G. Under permit application, 53-5, the section was
there were numerous clarifications made to this section to make it clear what is required for new construction versus alterations or modifications and versus repairs where a permit would be required for certain repairs. And then the final part was adding GPS points where they're required under the definitions. And that's it.
Any questions or comments?
I did have a few things. Just for a couple of things, I wanted a visual that could go along with them. So for the definition of inland waters, maybe just one map that showed inland waters and then one that showed outland waters or outside waters. I find that that's helpful for people. And same thing, maybe even on the same map, something that hashes out unsuitable locations.
Just going to say a couple
Yeah.
of slides going.
Yeah.
So this would be the inland waters. That would be.
Yeah. The unsuitable locations,
Mhm.
and then outside waters are obvious, I guess. Just because I find visuals helpful. And then in Article 3, commercial and private docks, it's 53.5 on page 7. Or A3, where it says less than 50% of the original structure supporting members such as pilings, framing remains in a structurally sound condition. I was just wondering if we should add as determined by the dock inspector or as determined by the engineer.
Where are you again?
Page 7,
Okay,
53.5A3,
okay.
just adding who's determining the 50% number. So is it by the dock inspector or is it by the dock builder or
Yeah, that
whoever's
was-
doing the design work?
No, it's a good point. We just went through this exercise.
Yeah.
The dock inspector, who was also the building inspector, examined it, as well as James Eflin, a member of the committee who's builder. But yeah, I mean, it's specifically add that language, it makes sense.
Should we make it the building department or?
Well, we have a dock inspector called out specifically in this, so it should be that person, I think.
Same guy.
Yeah.
The duly appointed building inspector, harbor master, or other qualified authorized individual of the town of Shelter Island. So. Yeah, and that was a good one because I had that one too.
And then I just had a few little questions, and then I have one that's more of a board discussion. So, yeah, the permit expired for 12 months. On page 12, number 3, at the top of the page, it's under existing docks. I think it's just something that got forgotten.
Are you talking about B?
3.
Okay.
Where it says that any repairs of a dock deteriorating, damaged, or destroyed by any cause, including an act of God, where 50% or more of the original structure supporting members, such as pilings and framing, remain in a structurally sound condition, so long as the repairs are in kind and in place, and are determined by the town board to significantly lessen pre-existing nonconformity. I don't think it can be repaired in kind, in place, and lessen pre-existing nonconformity.
Yeah, it's
So I had that line crossed out. Or should it be or?
supposed to be or.
Okay.
We had a few of those.
Yeah. I saw it corrected later on, so I thought maybe that was just a
Yeah,
forgotten.
the same language is in a few different spots.
Mhm.
This is, 53.
For page 13, for waivers, we have that it should be a unanimous vote of the town board.
I'm sorry, where were you? Where were you?
Page 13, waivers, 5312. It says unanimous vote of the town board. I thought maybe it should be supermajority.
Yeah, let me just get my notes.
Anyway, just because it says.
Actually wasn't in the,
Right, it's new.
yeah, I was gonna say it's a new,
Concept.
yes. So that was introduced not at a town board work session. So Bill, do you know why that was introduced?
Now, this is Stephen's addition.
I could understand needing a supermajority for a waiver, but I don't know that unanimous is is typical. So that's just something I thought we should consider.
I mean, since it involves public health safety, I mean, it's an important thing we're waiving here. So I can understand why Stephen put it in as unanimous. But we can talk about it, but I think it's right,
Unanimous is right?
yeah. But we can talk about it.
I agree with that. I think
Yeah,
it's.
unanimous. I just think that that's hard to come by at times.
Yeah. And you could just have two people who don't get along, like one person on the board and an applicant who just don't like each other.
Luckily, we don't have
Would
that
just
right
be spiteful. I would hate that to happen.
This is clearly a decision for you guys to make.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I would prefer supermajority
Yeah.
as opposed to unanimous. And you guys are both unanimous?
Because it's an important thing we're waiving, that's all. And four of us are reasonable people.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, but it's not for just us. You have to think long-term. Eventually, there'll be a whole new boards, whole new process procedure, you know, not just about us.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, I mean, so if you're waiving a provision in the chapter, there could be something that's more minor.
Hopefully those on Zoom can hear. We're having technical difficulties, so hang tight.
All right, let's see. Ken, text me if you can hear me.
Yes. You're still listed, Christina, you're still listed as host. SI. Christina, SI Town is still listed as host.
Recording in progress.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. We have our difficulties resolved. Okay. Now I can't remember where we were.
Supermajority versus.
Super.
So we put it in some context, which may or may not help. It refers to waivers. I call them exceptions in our draft. They're both basically variances to the code.
Mhm.
So the decision you're making is whether to go against everything that's in the code. And that might be for anything for a minor item that falls outside the code, or it could be for a major item.
Mhm.
So I don't know how that impacts whether you want to have a unanimous vote or not, but I would say it's something pretty extreme if you're going to go against the code. And redrafting all of this was to avoid all of the variances that were being granted. So.
Sounds like you're recommending that it stay unanimous.
Once it gets, it comes out of the WMAC, we might have a majority vote, and then we're looking to the town board to hopefully nail it, one way or the other. But I can see where unanimity is not that common. But neither should variances be common.
Well, it's a major thing.
Mhm.
And as Bill described it, it's a variance to the actual code of the town of Shelter Island. Sounds like a unanimous vote is proper, but that's just one man's opinion.
It's highly unusual.
It is
Highly unusual. I mean, ZBA, planning board, they grant things and there's no request for unanimous. I'm just trying to think what is normal per how you've operated in the past.
That was my thought. I was looking at it.
It doesn't mean that this can't.
I think it's a mistake to put unanimous. We can put it in. We need to move this forward because we cannot go back to Suffolk County Planning Commission and ask for another extension. We need to get moving.
All right, well, leave it in for now and see
Yeah,
what
if it
the
becomes
public hearing. But
the public hearing, and also we'll see if this moves forward, how it works in practice, and if it becomes an issue, then we can just revisit. Okay.
So then the next thing I had was that I feel like the freshwater docks and the freshwater related structures could be combined. It kind of seems redundant. So page 12, there's limitation on freshwater docks, and page 14, there's limitation on water-related structures on freshwater bodies. And it seemed very similar, if not the same, almost like it just didn't get stricken or.
No, it was thought through. So your structures are everything other than that dock. And basically there's a whole body of criteria in the code relating to dock design. There's really nothing as far as design goes with relation to structures.
Right.
They're always one-offs. So to combine the two, you really can't have a non-conforming structure because there's no
No basis. for
criteria, there's no
compliance.
design criteria. So combining them just wasn't working.
In that case, on page 14, there's still that glitch with the and determine or to significantly reduce the size. It should just be that or.
That's under this.
Page 14, 53-14.3. The last line.
Yeah. It was originally or.
Yeah, I think it was just a typo glitch.
Yeah.
So then the other thing I had, there's only two more things, I promise. So here we have on page 8, we talk about needing a wetlands permit. And then on page And then page 14, coordination with wetlands provisions. Is there some way we can combine this into one application process instead of having people do both a bulkhead and a wetlands application so that they're not going through two separate processes?
This is the problem that, because Jack Costello was here about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Steve and I went back and forth on this, and basically, my understanding is that the wetlands is being redrafted also. So he felt leave it in to tie them together, because what's currently in the code now is that if you get a dock permit, you don't need a wetlands permit, which doesn't make any sense. There should be some review of what the wetlands impact when you're putting it in a dock. So that's why if the dock is considered to be a structure that extends upland, and they are now, then there should be, that flag should be raised.
Right.
And there should be a review of wetlands. But if we grant the permit, the dock, the way it currently reads, you don't need a wetlands permit. So Stephen's thought was, well, let's leave this in, tying the two together, and it can be changed depending on how the wetlands code comes out. So.
I feel that inherently when you're installing a dock, you're also looking at the wetlands implications of that dock, which is why you request open grading and things of that nature. I think for some of like the bulkheading, rock revetments, things like that, they involve grading, sometimes grading and filling, and those are really where the wetlands complications come into play. So I'm wondering if we can come up with a way to make it either concurrent review
Yeah,
or
coordinated review.
something.
Yeah, yeah.
But then it's also you're combining the cost and expense of the wetlands permit application with the bulkhead repair or whatever it may be. It's going to get rather expensive for people to just kind of repair or replace things if they have to go through these review process, and it's going to take time. When you have a failed bulkhead, sometimes it needs to happen rather expeditiously. So I just want to figure out if there's a way we can streamline the process.
So give me 2 seconds, sections you were highlighting.
It's page 14, 53-15, and it's just mentioned on page 8 under, let's see, what's the heading? It's G on page 8. Because here it almost makes it sound like you need your wetlands permit prior to being reviewed by the WMAC for your dock application. But there are certain things, like maybe it's not as necessary for just a pure dock application, but for a bulkhead, rock revetment, something like that, it may be more necessary for a wetlands permit. So I think that's something that we need to sort out.
See page 8 on G?
G, a permit issued pursuant to chapter 129 if required.
It's underlined if you're working on a wetland copy. So it's above D, so that helps.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, sorry, tiny g. So that's either something we could address in the wetlands code, since we're still working on that. If we want to put this on public hearing, we can kind of make an adjustment in the wetlands code on how we handle bulkheading and
Yeah,
dock
let's
applications.
ask Stephen if he's available.
Because I'm pretty sure the wetlands code actually kicked it to the dock code. The latest revision said that the dock code rules on the dock applications. So I feel like this is one where docks are saying it's wetlands job, wetlands saying it's dock's job. So we're gonna have to compare
What I'd
them.
like to do is if we can agree that we want to try and put in wording for a coordinated review, that we have Stephen do just a slight redraft, circulate that,
Yeah.
those two pieces to us, and we can still get this going for. We also have our work session that was supposed to be just comp plan on Friday, so we could review it there if we have discussion.
All right.
It's fine by me. How do, we also need to address the fee structure though.
Fee structure is done by resolution of the town board.
So that's separate.
Right.
But we do need to do that for the repairs of bulkheads.
Yes.
This is town clerk's waiting for it.
Yes.
And then my only last question, I guess, to the board is, do we need a rollout period for this law? Or like, do we have a lot of things in the queue that have already been designed and submitted, and is this going to impact them?
Yeah, that's a good.
Or, right,
Yes,
Yeah.
but,
so I'm just wondering if this is one that, I mean, because I know with some of our past ones, we probably should have done a rollout period.
yeah.
I don't know how many get tangled
Yeah,
up.
do you know how many we have in the queue, Christina?
There were maybe 2 of them submitted as we were approving moratorium, but they all were without DEC and they were submitted only because the moratorium was coming. So they were deemed incomplete 9 months ago.
Okay, so,
At this point, we didn't accept any more paperwork, so they are all there.
okay, so we can probably just do it and move forward.
Yes.
Okay, all right. That was all for me. Anybody else has anything? Sorry.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
with it all.
All right, so we'll proceed. We'll give Stephen the few changes, and then have him just work at coordinated review on those 2 sections, page 8 and page 14.
Yes. Yeah, we got something public there.
Okay, we're getting there.
All right.
Thank you both for coming today, and thank you to the
you.
committee.
Make sure I didn't send my notes for anything. Yeah, take it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. You guys did great work on this.
Yeah, it's a tremendous lift.
It's,
Heavy lift. Great job.
okay, so we can, what time is it? Okay, we still have some time. Meeting time discussion, Julia and Liz wanted to present something to us. We're waiting for both of them to surface, but when they come, again, I may reshuffle the order of events here to accommodate their schedules. So we can go back to WQI, the Lang application.
I will recuse myself from this conversation and you can call me back in when you're done.
So Lang was forwarded to both of you on Friday morning. It was approved on Thursday at the WQI meeting. Base grant of 12,000, well relocation, 4,000, so a total of 16,000. And it's at 82 Smith Street. And it was,
4-0 vote.
yes,
And the well relocation was, they're putting it in because it may be possible.
yes.
So they put it in.
So we can put this on for resolution on Monday.
Yes. Can I agree on a little? There it is.
I'll make she can come back in. I don't know how far she wandered.
So we just did line, right? Okay.
Just waiting for Meg. Info. It starts and stops today.
I think so, yeah. Oh.
Just waiting for you.
Sorry.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the Water Advisory Committee mission statement. So the WAC, I guess liaisons are you two?
Yes.
Yes, so
I am not a liaison, but I submitted some substantial revision. Let's
Yeah.
call them that.
yes.
I don't know if it makes any sense to kick this to next week,
Well,
digest the revisions.
yeah, I was gonna say, I wanted to, like, they picked this up, so was this, the liaisons requested to give update on the mission, or did they do this themselves?
It was a combo. So in the beginning of the year, we asked all the committees to go back and review their,
We cannot close those doors.
it has to stay open.
Yeah, it's, for
Public hearings.
Yeah.
Noisy.
yes,
Just
we
saying.
can ask them to quiet down, but we can't close the doors.
So at the beginning of the year, we asked all the committees to review their mission statements and their goals and objectives. So while the WAC has been looking over different topics for consideration, they realized that they need more structure to how they review different issues. And so this was what they came back with as a recommendation on how they want to approach and tackle different topics as they come up. So that's kind of where this came from. And because the Deer and Tick had just sent us their revised mission statement and the other committees are starting to do the same, they submitted this to us for review.
Oh, did you want to say something?
No, it's like that old line in the movie, you had me at hello. I mean, the first sentence, consistent with the guiding principles of the Shelter Island Ground and Surface Water Plan. I don't.
As soon as I read that, I was like, oh,
You lost me.
Albert's not gonna like this.
I think I took it out as well.
You did.
Since I'm not a liaison, I wanted to try to respect the structure they were trying to go for, but to me, it just read like an autonomous board that we were empowering, as opposed to an advisory committee to the town board. So I redrafted the whole thing, trying to leave as much of what they had presented as possible. And there are a lot of revisions, let's just say that.
I didn't read it as they didn't understand the role as an advisory board. It says they render advice, but do not make spending or regulatory
It
decisions.
says that at the top, but then you read through the rest of it. And
It still says they just make recommendations to the town board.
But anyways, you just had a different take on it than I did.
One thing I actually, it's funny that you say that because I felt like with your revisions, you actually gave them more independent authority by
where?
giving them, by the way you have them being able to hire independent experts. That's really the town board's position. So they're just supposed to look over and review all the information that they can glean from other studies and other things, and then give us recommendations, and we decide as a board what kind of direction or what kind of experts we think we should be hiring.
That was certainly not my intention. I assume that if they're gonna spend that kind of money, they have to come to the town board anyway,
Right.
and they couldn't do it without town board involvement.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't want them going out to hire these consultants on their own.
Right, right. I just wanted to make sure that was like clear, because in here,
that.
I was like, oh, they cannot hire their own independent experts, that's different.
I'm more concerned that they actually go out and hire independent experts. But, I mean, whatever, if you want to kick this to next week, we can all read it and talk about it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, there is a WAC meeting on September 16th, so Monday, so they can take a look at it as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'd like them to look it over and
Mhm.
see if they can make any changes based on your recommendations, Ben,
Yeah,
and send it back to us.
not a problem. Maybe they can add in that bit, make it more clear that the town board gets to hire the independent experts.
Well, that goes without saying, because
Yeah.
we hold the
We
purse.
control the
We
budget.
gotta say, we gotta write the check, so.
Yeah, sign the purchase orders and, yeah. So we'll put it on for next week's work session.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any public comment on it, since it's not an asterisked one, but I know people, your edits, I don't think
I don't think
they're
they
too late to be published on the website, so,
Oh, no, I only sent this one.
yeah, so we'll make sure that they get posted for next week.
Okay.
I'd like to take a week to look this over.
Yep. All right,
More input, the more eyes on it, the better.
the FUR application, we closed that public hearing. We left it open just to get a response from the applicant and their consultant. And
Yeah.
so the things, we're just waiting for Julie as well. So we'll proceed. Just out of curiosity, what's your hard stop? We're starting on FUR. I know we're waiting for Julia.
My hard stop is 3.
Okay. Just want to keep that in mind.
Julia's on her way.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so on the FUR application, we did hear back from N Consultants, and pursuant to the public hearing, they changed the schematic plans and gave us the following information. The removal of the most landward 20 feet of existing walkway with a new landward end of the modified walk to be secured as needed. 2, replacement of the wood decking and the elevated catwalk with open grate decking. 3, replacement of catwalk supporting pilings located beneath mean high water to be replaced in place with untreated piles. 4, installation of 4 untreated piles and associated chalks to secure and keep the existing floating dock elevated at least 1 foot above the bottom as required by the order of consent issued by the New York State DEC. Reinstallation of the previously existing ramp providing access from the catwalk to the float. Notations of the legally existing water and electric connections. There's a certificate of occupancy that was issued in 2007. Are to remain, and that illumination of the dock will be limited to a single downward facing light at the end of the dock. And lastly, 7, notation that the dock encroaches into the waterway approximately 34 feet seaward of mean high water, well within the 100-foot limitation set forth by Code Section 5311C2. So when I compared it to my notes from the public hearing, I think they addressed everything.
Yeah, me too.
It looked complete to me. Didn't have any notes.
Mhm.
Look good to me. We don't want to talk.
What it is, I mean, I've said enough about it. You know, you don't want to hear me. It's a bad actor, and I can't support this. I think somebody just taking advantage, you know, asking for forgiveness rather than permission. But that's enough said.
All right, so we will put this on for resolution on Monday. Next up on the agenda, meeting time discussion to be presented by Julia Weisenberg and Liz Hanley. 16.
Some copies for you.
Oh, okay.
I have to share, but I don't have 4. Color. You ready to share? Sure. Actually, wait, I do. Sorry.
Wow, thank
I
you.
do have myself, so you guys are better.
Thank you.
We have. Do you want me to start or do you want to start?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, cool. Julia Weisenberg, Liz Hanley.
We're coming representing the Democratic Committee.
And the Republican Committee of Shelter?
And we just wanted to come, I know we've spoken to each of you guys individually, but we wanted to just bring before the town board, talking about what meeting times are and why we feel like it's really important that we take another look at that. As you know, as part of like our work is to recruit candidates on both sides, to make sure that you're putting forward good candidates that represent the whole population of Shelter Island. And one of the things that definitely comes up is because of the scheduling of the meetings and that they're during the day, that it is pretty much impossible for us to recruit folks that are not retired or work for themselves, right? And so what we feel is that we're kind of missing a whole constituency that just can't be represented, right? And so if they can't be represented, then those issues that are important, and you guys do, and I work hard for the whole town, but I do feel like there is something important with having folks that have full-time jobs or kids or responsibilities that are during the day. They have different needs and concerns, and regardless of how they get addressed, I think it's really important that we're able to have the ability to bring forward candidates in the future that have a different work schedule or who aren't retired. Like I said, because I think that there are issues that are important to them that might not be reflected. I mean, the only reason that we're able to be here is literally in the middle of our day is that we're both self-employed. Right. If that were a different case, I wasn't able to we weren't able to pop out in the middle of the day. We couldn't even be here to talk to you about this.
Well, actually, the exemplar is me. I mean, I'm here for 1 hour and I have to be on the road back home by 3 o'clock, so I'm squeezing it in.
Yeah, same thing. So we just really want to kind of put that to you guys to think about, is there a way to take another look at when we're meeting so that we could, just open the town board? I mean, I think also thinking about other people who could attend to hear them, but for us, and really the crux of it is to be able to have folks one day that sit in the seats that you do, that maybe have a different situation.
And this is something that both parties feel strongly about. And so just to add to what Liz was saying, just for people on Zoom, what I passed out to the town board members, I will give to Amber, our clerk. It's just basically research I did comparing 2019 to 2024 now. Well, like townships that I had done back then, I actually added a few more this time. I expanded my search, so I added Patchogue, Islip, Huntington, and Brookhaven, just to be sure that the research I had done in 2019 was similar to what it is now. And on that wave also, this is not really a new issue, even though we're coming together, like as both parties, like bringing it up again. It's actually an old issue. So in 2019, I brought it up. And then I think when BJ was a town board member, she looked at it too. So I forwarded her the old research we had done. And then I know it has come up again recently. So, but just to give you an example, I'm not going to run through all of these, but if I could just summarize for you what the facts are, is that
most of these townships, with the exception of Sag Harbor, which actually holds all their meetings at night, they hold them at 7. Most of them have their regular town board meeting, and when I write that in here, it means a regular meeting where the public can attend and can give comments versus when you see work session listed, that means the actual closed work session where public can sit in the room, but they can't actually comment. Most of them have regular meetings more than twice a month. Some of them even have the regular meetings 3 to 4 times a month in the evening. They do, however, hold their work sessions during either the early morning or the early afternoon. Again, with the exception of Sag Harbor. And the only change I kind of put in like a lighter font there was the town of East Hampton only basically adjusted their time by like 30 minutes. Like they used to be 10:30, now they're 11, and they were 6:30, now they're 6. So I guess what we are proposing is that, this is the trend, but as has come up before in Shelter Island, we feel like we could be the trailblazers, the trendsetters, and maybe take the cue from Sag Harbor and start moving these meetings, both the work session and the regular town meetings, to evening, for the points that Liz just, went over for both of us.
I have a question. I fully acknowledge and recognize that this is a long-standing conversation, and it was part of my campaign for this seat. But based on your research, do you think it would help at all? For instance, we have a town board meeting every 3 weeks. Would it help to move that to 9 a.m. instead of the evening? Would that
that's
help at all?
Right, because because I'll say I know you're doing this in between things, and at 9 a.m. I'm at work, you know what I mean? Now in the evening, and I think for most, I guess I would encourage, maybe a good way to think about it is if you had somebody who worked at the school, right? There's a good 9 to 5, kind of flexible, but busy during the day. How could somebody that worked at the school participate in town government potentially one day at the level that you guys are at, you know what I mean? And thinking about schedule, or who works at the cozies, or who works any kind of job like that. Because it's right now, 9 a.m., it's just they could never do it.
And it is different when somebody goes to watch the town board meetings afterwards, that's always been, a counter argument, well, they can always watch it. People are exhausted, and it's different when you get there, and it's happened to me, but I'll be watching it and saying, oh, I wish I had been there because I would have said this, but I can't because it's already past time. I mean, yes, you can always send a letter, but it doesn't have the impact when you're right there in the audience and you can raise your hand on a regular meeting and ask to speak.
The origins of my question. If you have a meeting like our board meeting, which happens kind of once a month, it's easier to steal an hour once a month in the morning than, something more regular or frequent.
Right, but I guess I would say for people, and I think that this is really important, and I'll say as somebody who doesn't have control of their schedule, right? So I would say for most jobs, and I would say for I am self-employed, right? So I have the leisure to be able to do this. But I would say that folks that work for me or in many jobs that I've held, I can't leave during the workday to do that. That's like I said, let's take, for example, that person who works at the cozies or works at the school. They definitely could never do the same 9 to 3.
And 9 o'clock is pretty much prime time for anybody who has kids or has a job or has to be anywhere by any time. You're busy at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and I would, and so I would just say that I would love it if we could consider moving to evenings or very late in the afternoons. And again, also thinking about maybe even somebody who's has children and has childcare responsibilities, getting right to something. Again, can't do it during the day, you're dropping off kids. And so I just wonder if there's just a whole group of people that issues don't get raised because they can't sit in one of these seats, or they can't sit in one of these seats. So.
And again, we're coming from both parties because we both really feel.
We might have different ways to look at the issues that would get raised.
And this is something that we can work on together.
Yeah.
It's a bigger, broader issue. Yes.
Essentially, you have to move everything to 6 o'clock.
Well, I was going to say, so we're doing fine with our town board meetings because those are at 6 p.m. on Mondays. So it would just be, the request is to move our work sessions to a later time of the day to accommodate people. And then what about committees? We have most committees meet in the evening, but
A lot of them are in the evening.
Yes, three, I think, right, that are.
Yeah.
yeah, I think WAC, which is
CPS,
next week, CPS and Taylor's Island. And
WMAC.
they're in the evening.
That's
They're in the evening, too.
WQI is an evening. Is that
Wise evening.
Yeah, I think it's just.
Deer and Tick.
Yeah.
Deer and Tick.
Yeah. Deer and Tick,
Deer and Tick, yeah.
WAC's at 2:00, and then CPF is at what, 8:30 in the morning, 9
Yeah.
o'clock?
And West Waters at like 4 p.m.
Right.
We do run the risk of wiping out every weekday evening for us.
Well, yeah.
No, because we share liaison, duties, so, and they're only meeting once a month.
Mhm.
I could have fun with a calendar.
Do you have any like questions or for us or?
I presented this to the board the last time I was on the board. And I was thrown out of the room, but
It sounds like right now, nobody's against this.
I thought as a compromise at that time, I don't know, maybe we could do it for a period of time and see the turnout, see the interest.
Well, hold on, here's the thing that I would actually, I love that idea, but the issue is, again, I mean, I think it's for audience participation, but again, to think about, I think structurally, thinking about folks that, like I said, could one day sit in the seats that you're, let's think about it if. Long term, right? Like when their seats become available, I know that part of our job on the committee is to have conversations with people. When there's vacancies, would you be interested in becoming part of town government?
That's usually the first block.
Yeah, and they say, I have a job, get out of here. I would be super interested, but I can't. And so I think if doing something temporarily doesn't really, it helps with I think being able to have feedback, but thinking about, like I said.
I was talking as a compromise to these three, to at least start it if there was hesitation, to at least give it a go, that's all.
Oh, I have no hesitation. I just think we need to figure out what days we're talking about. I mean.
Good.
I'm not.
Yeah, some
I've got-
some townships do Tuesdays only, some do Tuesday, Thursday, and some of them even had a lot more meetings than we do. I think it was town of Southampton, it meets like 3 or 4 times regular town meetings, and then 2 times a month they have a work session too. It's wild.
Does the code require us to have a work session every week?
No.
That's another thing, you don't have to.
They can do 1 week board meeting, 3 weeks work session, 1 week board meeting, 3 weeks work session.
Actually, compared to
I'm
these
just-
townships, you have a lot more work, you have a lot more meetings every week, they're not meeting.
I know we got a lot of work to do.
I was gonna say, there's so much to do. And I try and pare things down, and then it's like, oh, we've got the WQI thing, and, then dock applications, now we're gonna have wetlands application,
Yeah, we have.
we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Now that this has been presented to us, we should have
Yeah.
we should have a formal discussion of this in public. So
Yes, yeah,
how do we schedule that?
I was gonna say, we can,
Could you schedule it at night? So we don't have to take off work. Is that possible?
the calendar, because we moved our meetings from Tuesday nights to Monday nights. Then there was a domino effect of okay, CAC had been on Mondays, and so they needed to flip over to Tuesdays, and then, so I was like.
It's always something that goes down the
Yeah,
drain.
I was it was like playing, putting a puzzle.
But it's a positive thing, I noticed that we've all had, Albert's talked about it, Ben, I had one, we've all been working on this in some way or another, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I feel like we're all on the same page. It's just how do we logistically do it?
Yeah.
Because I think it would be positive for the town boards, because you'd be able to hear from more people, and I think it'd just be really positive for the community.
So maybe consider instead of 1, 3, maybe that, our town board meetings tend to be short compared to the work sessions. So maybe we can do a truncated work session after the board meeting or something.
We tried that last year. We did work session and board meeting, and that's in part why we moved from Tuesday to Monday. It was just, there was so much going on, even on weeks like next week when we've got Monday and Tuesday, there's a lot for us to prepare for. the staff as well as us, just to accommodate those first 2 days of the week. We also wanted to move it to Monday because second homeowners who might want to, be present for an application, they could add it
Yes.
onto the weekend and not have to hold over until Tuesday. So,
Okay.
like, we keep trying to get better at it, but
It's a complicated puzzle. That's
We
good,
can
given
play.
everyone's lives and schedules, and then the audience and the residents. It's complicated.
Those meetings, the board meetings aren't always short. It depends on the hearings, the topics that's being, they can be rather long,
yeah,
depending on what's going on.
Yeah. It's been pretty easy this year so far.
Yeah.
Well, we
But-
haven't gotten into wetlands yet.
Right,
That
yeah,
will
yeah.
add a lot of time.
Okay, we can talk about it. I'm loath to try and I don't want to change our town board meeting schedule for the rest of the year, and we're good with that. But we could maybe play with maybe moving a couple of work sessions. And I'd rather not impact the committees because they've got their, their
Would you
calendars
be
set.
open to figuring out a schedule so that it would be changed in the new year?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
But it might be fun to just do one, but,
Have it ready for.
It's- That's to recruit on for next November.
Right, yeah, yeah.
That's with me.
All right, cool.
Thank you for those
Yeah.
comments.
Yeah, thanks for being open to it.
everyone's favorite comprehensive plan. So we were going to pick that up on
7-2, was it?
7, yeah.
So, last week, we were asked to have a look at rewriting a couple of chapters, a couple of paragraphs, which I did. I've circulated some to you guys for consideration. I sent it to Coco as well. It was really 7-1, page 106 and page 101. I think it was that first paragraph or two.
On page 101?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what we were asked to rewrite, and I shared it with
We're
them.
going to rewrite it together.
Well, we didn't get a chance to talk.
Yes,
You were very busy this weekend.
there's a lot going on, but,
So I figured I'd take that off your plate
yes.
and help you out. So you owe me one.
okay. All right, so did we want to, I didn't get a chance to read these just because the timing that they came in, I was in meetings and on phone calls this morning. So if we can pause going through those for now. We will, once we go through all of the chapters, we'll be going back and just covering all changes and all open items. So
Okay.
is it okay if we close it? like
Right.
that? Because we are, once we get done with
Right.
chapter review, there's a lot to still go back and.
So I got up early for nothing.
It's just not enough time in the day.
Just kidding.
Well, 7-2? I had, we got through 7-3.
Oh,
And then
7-4.
7-4 was the
Yeah, it
next.
says start here
Gotcha.
on Friday,
Yes.
but then I put September 10th, so.
Yes, yes, because.
We didn't extra meeting for Friday.
Yes. So for
On my other.
educate and assist property owners on how to prevent contamination. Just for Coco, it's not real, it's like specific. If you look on page 108, you can see what's going to become 7.4C, continue the grant program for IA system installation. It's just a bad break. But as we go through the edits, like the last final thing that I want you to do is to go through and make sure we don't have any bad breaks like that.
Okay, which section, so you said, I have notes that you're gonna rewrite goal 7.4C, that.
No, we're not gonna rewrite 7.4C, it's just that the page break for 7.4C is awkward.
Okay,
So page 108 says continue the grant program for IA, and then you go to 109 and system installation. So I just wanted.
oh, I see, okay.
Okay, so I just want a general note that we have clean breaks.
No problem,
Once we
okay.
have all the edits put back in.
So are you writing that goal intro or not for 7.4C, educate and assist property owners? That was the last note I had written on the deck. That ABW will rewrite this opening.
Oh, yeah, they're still gonna.
On that one?
On 7,
It's-
7-1?
It's on 108, just that you were gonna rewrite that opening. The goal 7.4.
Oh, yeah, it says,
Now 7.4C.
yeah, 7-4 goals. That was supposed to be rewritten.
oh, that
Which I
was the one
didn't
that-
do.
That was, oh, the one that was.
That one I have not done. I'm happy to do it for next week or Friday or whatever.
I think it was 7.1C,
Yeah, 7.1C.
because we were moving 7.3 to 7.1C.
Mm-hmm, yeah, that's why I'm confused. It was 7.1C Coco. Because we hadn't gotten to 7.4 yet.
It used to be 7.3A, and now it's being changed to 7.1C, and it's being moved over.
The
That
educate
one.
and assist property owners one?
That's the phase master plan one.
Yeah, that's, I don't know, that's what I have, but that could be wrong.
I didn't think that we had gotten that.
Wouldn't be the
Yeah,
first thing.
I didn't have that, we got that far.
344 on 9.5 right before we start.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter, we'll
It's
just.
it's the right before we stop part.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Okay, my last entry was that, but I'll make sure the clean break on the bottom.
Yeah, I didn't put initials. This could be just a note to myself. It basically says rewrite this.
What about it? What part of it?
That's nothing in particular yet because I haven't done it. This is nothing, oh, I understand my note now. I think there's a missing piece to this possibly, which is, this is educate and assist, property owners safeguard their drinking water quality, and if there's a problem, give them options around solving the problems. And how do you clean it up? There's a problem.
Oh, this was the water filtration argument. Okay.
Well, no, it's just, there are other options. So, all right. That's all. That's what my note means. I'll
Got
make
it.
it
So
better
you're
again.
gonna- okay.
Yeah, because then we discussed doing like a grant program for filtration. Is that?
Yes.
That's right, we were just jumping around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding us, Coco. Get my pink sticky down to my last three.
on page 109, goal 7-5, implementing source water protection programs that identify vulnerable areas around wells and other groundwater resources. I had made a note to add CPF purchase here, and that was coming from another section, I think.
Yeah, that was from section 8.
Oh, it was, okay.
And that's the open space and waterways. There's a recommendation that CPF look at, let's see, it was goal 8-1. And it was parcels that help protect surface and or groundwater quality like kettle holes, like areas that are natural points of recharge for the aquifer. I think that was what we had discussed a little bit in the prior meeting.
So I just need to then write up something to add a sentence or two.
Yeah, or even just reference 8-1.
This is the zoning issue? Protection program? No?
No, so a water protection zone, the county has them established too. It's an area of influence. So like we have the near shore overlay, which is kind of like a water protection zone. So it's for like near shore for saltwater intrusion, things like that. But you can add additional zones depending on what the potential threats or contamination could be. So a lot of the time around public wells, there'll be a wellhead protection zone where you have maybe 500 feet around the well where you can't spray system, you can't, like, where you prohibit certain things from happening. So it's kind of a larger overlay district for your watershed.
Okay. How does it interact with, well,
It doesn't
I mean, like the
change.
Suffolk County has a wellhead protection limitation.
Yeah, they have setbacks, like, with a public well, you need 200 feet from any sanitary system. So you could maintain that, or if you wanted to add additional buffers for that wellhead, you can do that.
For public well or wellness services,
For like the West Neck Water District wells or the Heights Water District well,
is it a bigger buffer for that?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just back to 74 real quickly. This first section talks about reducing septic systems. Somewhere in this first section, should we mention under sink solutions? Educate the public on that. I mean, you just mentioned it. I just want to make sure we didn't skip over it.
Maybe put it as.
So the wellhead protection zones is just for the current water systems, West Neck Water, Deering Harbor, and the Heights.
Right.
Just those, okay.
Wait, there's a fourth one. What's the fourth one?
Well, there's, there are smaller ones. There's one at
We
Bridge
just-
Street.
Yeah, Bridge Street.
There's one at
Bridge
Bridge
Street.
Street, and there's
that's it.
also one where
That's what I'm
aprons
thinking.
used to be.
Yeah, Bridge Street. So back to your question on 7.4, Ben, then another bullet, maybe under, like, we've got the develop a dedicated website or webpage that serves as central hub for water quality information, includes resources linking to testing laboratories and guidelines for interpreting test results. We want to add something there.
Yeah.
That about,
Bullet like that would even be good.
yeah, so, other educational tools. Educational information.
Just maybe listing the different options for
Mhm.
treating water if you
Yeah.
have contamination,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
a reference to go speak to a professional about.
it's addressing.
So someone's gonna give me another bullet for that area?
Yes.
Resources?
Yes. And you'll remind us if we don't.
Put ABW next to that.
ABW's everywhere.
Also on the bottom of page 108, I guess this goes with the top of 109.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and so that was my comment to Coco, that once we've made all of our edits, that you make sure that those kinds of bad breaks don't.
Now, should we mention mandates?
No, that's kind of outside, like this should be more broad and then it's the board's decision as to what they mandate, how they do it, how they handle it.
Well, mention it
Because,
as an option. But
well, no, but that's one of the things that we need to, if we go forward with the mandating IAs on transfer, there's still the discussion about the procedures of the committee of whether or not we're going to allow grants for those who
Yes.
need them.
Mhm.
So, so this is just saying continuing the grant program,
Okay,
but so it's not,
that's fine.
mandates is one direction, grant programs is another, we just have to make sure they merge, okay?
Okay. What else do I have here?
Is there, should we have something there for a low interest loans out of the WQI funding for IA septic installation? The creation of that? So we can reuse the money, it's not just a grant and put out.
Yeah, we don't have that in here.
That should
The
be,
expansion of the use of these funds to include water quality, okay, so yeah, that's a good idea.
Do you want it to be a separate bullet, Albert, or just incorporated in that?
we can incorporate it since we're talking, or a separate bullet, I don't, whatever, but I'd like to put it in there. It's something that I think we should have, we should develop.
Where's that new bullet, Albert?
Either a new bullet or continue the grant program for IA system installation, the top of 109.
So we've got 7-4, A, B, C is continue the grant program, so we have a new D.
Yeah, so
And then
consider
E would be
establishing.
develop wellhead protection zone. So Albert, you'll write that one?
Sure.
Will there be a new E or a new C then?
So this will be C, and then we'll insert D. And then
And then this is E.
E and F.
So D would be something like consider establishing a low interest loan program for the installation of IA systems, something like that.
Yeah. Anything else on 7-4?
The last paragraph, whatever the number it is at the end, Peconic Bay Region Community Preservation Funds Town Law.
Yeah, that's the CPF legislation. It's
Yeah.
the enabling legislation.
It's missing a word, I think.
No, it's, there's a comma missing. I think it's supposed to be the Conic Bay Regional Community Preservation Fund, comma, Town Chapter 62,
That
Article
could be
4.
it. Okay. Just look weird, that's all.
Yeah, it did, you're right.
All right, so 7-5.
Is implement the right word? Because we haven't looked into this yet. It's not like there's a study that's been completed and just implement
I
it.
actually think that the watershed management plan recommended water protection zones, but I can double check that. A lot of things in that plan didn't quite get.
While you're looking,
Question 75B.
yeah, I was gonna say, while you're looking for that, or I
can
guess
do
just
that
make a
later.
note.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so B,
Feasible. How is a failure determined now? It's not by official. I'm trying,
It's
what's the best standard to use here?
the Suffolk County
Mhm.
Department of Health
Health.
definition of a failure.
Okay, can we spell that out?
I like that idea.
So let's see.
But he's going out.
Failure?
Page 109, revisit the town's IA OWTS code.
Yeah, so where it says, in the middle of the paragraph, where it says, or failure, just say as defined by Suffolk County Department of Health. Parentheses.
Under revisit the town's IA code, we should put, I mean, just, I guess when we get to it, we should put in septic upgrades for commercial and businesses, not just residentials. I know that's only what we refer to in the proposed legislation, is just residential. It should be commercial and business. They're actually more impactful to a large degree.
Where we
Yeah, I
can
was
insert
trying to
that.
figure out where to put it in.
Well, the town could consider a long-term plan to upgrade all sanitary systems, both residential and commercial, over the next 10 years. Get that, Coco?
No, over the night, did you turn the page?
It's at the very bottom of 109,
Uh-huh.
last line.
The town.
So the town could consider a long-term plan to upgrade all sanitary systems, comma, both residential and commercial.
Okay.
I don't know if it's addressed somewhere else, but I'm thinking you look at something like West Neck Bay. I mean, there's blooms in there every year. Should we have an area, designate areas around close to surface waters to install IA septic systems? I don't know where to put.
Right, that would be included in the water protection zones. So, so if you start with, like, if you kind of phase them in, so if you identify source water protection programs that identify vulnerable areas around wells and other groundwater sources, or you could even expand that to bays and estuaries. You know, your water protection zones could be the area around West Neck Creek, it could be the area around.
I just use that example because
Yeah.
West Neck Bay
Yeah.
is always susceptible
Right.
this time of year
And
or
then,
earlier.
yeah, and then the concept of the water protection zones carries over into 7.5B, which is the revisit the town's IA code, and it's saying that you could give priority to areas in that water protection zone, whether it be for surface water or groundwater. So need to clarify, let's see.
At the end of 7.5B. There's a reference to Appendix C, which we've discussed taking out. I don't know if you want to replace this reference with that 2014 plan that the town paid for, hired a consultant.
Yeah, that doesn't make any
The
sense.
Nelson Pope Voorhees
Yeah,
watershed.
well, we can just take it out then.
Well, what I'd like to do is just look and see what's in Appendix C to see what it's
It's
referencing.
the ground and surface water
Management.
management plan,
That's insane.
which
But what
was not passed
exactly?
on by the town board.
No, what I'm asking is what is referenced in Appendix C, to see if there's some wording there, rather than referencing
okay.
Appendix C, what's the
Pull the
verbiage?
wording out.
Yes,
figure it
and
in
stick it in here, that's,
here.
yeah,
I'm not opposed to that.
yeah, let me see if I find it quickly.
I mean, other than what's on page 43, or that
Three.
it references 716.
43, oh, yeah. 716. Revise the irrigation law?
Where are you now? Where'd you get to?
We're on 7.5B at the very end. which
Page
is-
110.
Yeah, page 110. But pulling out something that's helpful, sticking in here on its own is fine by me.
I'm not finding it now, but I'll
Yeah, no,
research,
no.
yeah, okay.
I'll put ABW next to this.
I got too many, but that's fine. But did we resolve Albert's comment about extending the water protection zones to surface waters?
Yeah, so the note I made was identify source water protection programs that implement source water protection programs that identify vulnerable areas around wells, groundwater sources, and other sensitive areas, which would extend to surface water. And then in the paragraph itself, it says this should include the designation of water protection zones where estimated effluent travel to surface water, fresh or salt, is less than 2 years based on a foot-a-day movement. So that's protecting that water bodies. And areas that are currently experiencing groundwater at or above 7 milligrams per liter of nitrates. So, and then you create standards to minimize contaminations in those areas. So it would be a process.
I don't know if it's elsewhere, but if it's in 7.5A or can be a part of that, is dewatering. Where did I say? It's mentioned only briefly as essential applications, but I mean, we should include dewatering, no dewatering, period. You know, it's only for pool construction now. I think it should be across the board, no dewatering.
Yeah, because I think it only comes up when we have like special permits or,
Right.
yeah.
I don't know where to put it, if we put it there or wherever,
Maybe a new.
but it should be.
I would move it into the second, into 7.6 somewhere. Because that's more
Ooh, yeah,
promote water
water table.
conservation policies. Water restrictions. We might be better in that section.
Were you moving 7.6?
7.6, we might be able to add a bullet.
Just because, I mean, 7.6 is, it has the wording in there without the need for off-island water. And I feel like it does fit better under 7.5 because we're going to be strengthening regulations.
Do people dewater frequently? Is that like a thing? I haven't had too much. I haven't encountered it very frequently. I know there was the one issue with the pool a long time ago, and that's why it's no longer allowed for pools, but.
When the Historical Society did their, that was a huge one. I'd suggest putting a bullet under 7.5. I think I like it better there.
Okay.
Which is what you were suggesting, Robert.
Which section is that in?
So it'll be a new, so we've got 7.5 A, B, C, and adding a D. Yeah. Trying to think of the word. Develop code to prohibit dewatering for all construction. Did you write something specific or?
No, I think it should be included. But we only have it for pools. But it's going to be an issue, especially in construction in a nearshore area.
At the start of it.
But then should we also put something in for when people have to pump out because of flooding? Dewatering, but then you also have that instance where like, for example, we had Penny here talking about how the ponds are so high, their basin's been flooding. Do we need rules on, I guess it falls into the keeping your runoff under property, but when people are pumping out their flooded basement, we don't want them flooding their neighbor.
Right.
I just went to the flip side of what you were saying with the dewatering, because it's, but I guess that's more nuanced for code writing itself and not.
That's in the code,
Yeah,
actually,
it
really.
doesn't need to be here.
You're, you know, you're responsible for your own runoff. But
The water table is kind of freakishly high right now,
Oh, yeah.
time of year.
That happens like every decade.
I thought it would go down, but the kettle hole behind my house is still twice its normal size.
I'll have wording for you on that section of code.
Okay.
Stealing from another section. Ages are all important. That's a good thing to remember to block. Exactly. Okay, so that was 7.5.
7.6. I guess the headline, island residents and businesses without the need for off-island water. I don't know.
Say it again, I was writing.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, at the end, it talks about island residents without the need for off-island water. Do we want to mention businesses?
Where you been?
Oh, okay, the goal,
7.6.
the goal
The
itself.
goal itself, the
Okay.
headline. And before that, needs is the.
I always think of businesses as residents. I feel like they're here.
That's interesting.
I consider it all, I mean, you know, it's like, it's, consider them as like members of the community, so I just think of them all as residents.
They definitely are, but they do tend to have a greater
Impact.
impact.
Sure. I mean, I think, conservation policies should be enumerated for businesses,
All right, so-
commercial businesses.
So drinking water needs of scratch the,
Instead of needs, maybe demands. Needs is a weird word there. I mean, you need water, otherwise you
Mhm.
die, but still. Because you can regulate demand. Irrigation, for instance.
yeah, I was gonna say, but I feel like demand isn't quite the right word either. To support the
Well-
drinking water.
I mean, these restrictions go across, I think, residences and businesses.
I don't think it was signaling out one versus the other.
Just for clarity point. really.
Yeah.
It's a,
But then after island residents and businesses.
yeah. I don't really care about needs. It's just needs demands.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, is that still 7.6C, mean island residents and businesses?
No, we're at the goal itself for 7.6 on page
7.5.
110.
Oh, okay, I thought it was C now, it's not C,
No, oh, good.
not 7.6C?
Well, we're just on goal 7.6.
Okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
Just the main, in the yellow box.
Right, for some reason I said, I wrote a C after it for some reason. You want to add residents and businesses?
Yes.
Okay.
And get rid of the word the.
Indicator criteria, where does that come from? Is that New York State?
No, it was established by the WAC and it's on their website and the town board adopted it.
Oh, town board adopted it.
Yes.
So on 7-6, page 111, just to reiterate, so C, which was develop a groundwater model, that's, I think, the one you were talking about, Coco. That one,
111,
develop a groundwater model?
that's C.
Yes, so,
So-
but it was 7-6C, it's now going to become 7-1A.
A, that I have, okay.
Okay, just checking.
Seven six B on page 111. Where is it here?
You mean C?
Seven six B
Oh, okay, you're down in the.
on 111,
Okay.
the second bullet. We're talking about dewatering, only to essential applications, but I think dewatering should be prohibited.
Yeah, I was gonna say, rather than discourage, let's change it to prohibit.
Take out discourage and put in prohibit.
Fine by me.
I don't know how you discourage homeowners from topping off their pools
So we should prohibit it.
with well water. I mean, that's great, it sounds terrific, but
Yeah, that's.
It's challenging because the health department requires that pools be topped off or filled with potable water. So you can't, it's tricky on what you can actually use to pool.
I fill my pool with Evian, so.
Not everyone has that luxury, but.
Let's see, just a question, just the back up to the beginning of that paragraph before the bullets.
Mhm.
And surface water sources. Do we have surface water sources that we use?
Where are you?
Promote water conservation policies, middle of that
Aquifer
paragraph.
depletion, reducing overall water supply and potentially impacting nearby wells and surface water sources.
Are we just talking
Yeah.
about? I don't know, just confusing. I'm not sure what it means.
Okay.
Are we trying to protect kettle holes? Are we drawing water from things like that? I don't think so.
What we do for fires, but the quality of that water doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Well,
as long as it's wet.
irrigation can lead to.
I guess like if you're thinking like Chase Creek. That'd be a surface water source because it flows into the bay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you have too much drawdown, then you can actually dry out the kettle holes, which then you use habitats.
Those frogs at night, they keep me up.
Well, draining their habitat's not a way to stop them.
I don't know, it just seemed a little
It's awkward, yeah.
awkward. I'm not objecting to it, I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to me. No. And kind of the same point in that last bullet, figure out enforcement. That's a weird statement.
Yeah,
Because we obviously haven't sorted that yet, which is why it's like, figure it out. No, we haven't gotten there.
I'm gonna write that in more sentences.
Right?
But now that I'm looking at it, it's like, what is it trying to tell us?
It's train of thought, yeah, it's very stream of consciousness.
Because is it talking about temporary irrigation systems.
These are for conservation policies, so all of it's addressing different forms of conservation.
Okay, so it's.
So revised irrigation law to prohibit well-drawn irrigation, especially in near-shore overlay and including grandfathering systems. Discourage homeowners from topping off their pool. These are all methods of conservation. But figure out enforcement is a little.
But then they also, okay, revised irrigation.
It's develop enforcement.
Yeah.
See.
I do like that we do have a hole right here then on the temporary irrigation systems for new plantings.
So if we go to the last one, on page 111, improve education about water conservation and landscaping best practices. Is there a place in there where we can add? No, this is all educational.
No, I think
Yeah,
that
it
this
should
is the
go
right,
under
area, especially if we're gonna develop the enforcement for pulling out those temporary irrigation systems.
What do we do with golf courses?
We develop a policy to regulate and monitor short-term irrigation systems. Yeah, the establishment of replantings. Yeah.
And this sort of stuff is the purview of the WAC?
It's the town board to make the laws, but we can look to the WAC for recommendations on ways to.
Improve education?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just asking. It's also a typo in that first paragraph, native plans.
Hold on. Which page are you on?
111, right there,
Yes.
native plans.
Still on temporary irrigation systems.
Oh, sorry.
Like this.
Model.
I just add. Okay, and then. When I look at the video, maybe whatever I said before I got it written down.
Yes. Okay, so then back to Albert's comment, you were saying something about golf courses.
Yeah, under water conservation policies, do we just leave them out? You know. There's a lot of point, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
feel
know.
like golf courses are already pretty scrutinized for how they use water, and the DEC monitors their water usage. They're allotted a certain amount of gallons. They have to report those numbers.
There is a seasonal fluctuation that we encounter.
Of course. What
Once-
kind of recommendation do you recommend?
It just occurred to me. I mean, I just think,
Yeah.
you know, we're talking irrigation. I mean, the golf courses, they're not mentioned here at all. It's just,
So we're gonna add some sort of bullet for golf courses and Albert to draft.
And Meg, did you say you had copy for another bullet or figure out enforcement bullet? Or both?
She's gonna add, she's got wording for the bullet for temporary irrigation systems.
Yes.
And I'll come up with something clearer for the figure out enforcement.
And then a bullet on golf courses?
Yes.
Yeah, and
that'll
Albert will
be
work on
Albert.
that.
Should the title of 7.6C, the developer groundwater model, I don't know.
Oh, that's getting, developer model got moved to 7A because it was,
Okay, got
we
it.
wanted to start with that.
Mhm.
And so we put it above the other ones in that section.
7.6A,
It's gonna be 7.1A.
oh, 7.1A.
Yes,
I didn't make that note, sorry.
you made the recommendation.
I know.
That's just those two paragraphs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we change the title of it? Should we,
No, because
Title the same.
so it's under goal 7.1, which is ensure that all Shelburne residents have ready access to drinking water. It meets applicable local, state, and federal standards. All groundwater shall follow the stricter New York State ambient groundwater
have you read
standards.
that?
You rewrote that whole section. Oh, in what you gave us.
What I gave you.
Oh, okay, all right. So what you rewrote,
Which is fine.
No, that's not what you rewrote. That, you didn't rewrite the title, you rewrote the first paragraph. Oh,
I
wait,
did.
I'm looking at the wrong paragraph. Okay.
I mean, I didn't rewrite it, I took out
You took out, yeah.
words.
You took out that all residents have ready access to.
7 words I took out.
so
Are we on 7.7?
Hold on, wait a minute, for, okay, uses in private wells.
oh, yeah, 7.7. I was gonna skip to 7.8.
Improve education at the plants. I just don't know how we're doing this. Monitoring water usage in private wells. I didn't do that. But it's got that book.
Where are you?
It's
Oh, okay,
111. It's encouraging homeowners to take a more active role in tracking their water.
Okay, we can do
And
that.
then,
Yeah, and at some point, we're hoping people can install monitors that could be, transmitted.
Well, we'll have to get a grant. Oh, why would they do that?
If we make them.
part of it is it can be tied into irrigation. So even if you have
Yeah.
a cistern drawn irrigation, having a monitor on it, a water meter, so that when you go to renew your permit, you give us the metered reading for how much water you've used in a year, so you can track it and see if it really, like, if it makes sense that you are getting it trucked in or you are using roof collection. Like, there's ways to,
Okay.
implement it on certain things.
It's gonna be interesting, but I've no reason to change it. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think when we talked about it in the past, it was, we would start with people with irrigation systems.
Yeah, okay.
It would almost be a test pilot.
7.7.
Yeah, because the WAC did look into having kind of like unified meters on everybody's wells and determined that it was way too much to try to do. It was like cost prohibitive and it was just too much. There's too many options on the market. There's too many things to it.
There's too many property rights people running around.
Exactly.
Meg.
Well, what are you accusing me of, Benjamin?
That's early, I'm already getting punchy.
7.7?
7.7. A lot of this, I guess we do a lot of the stuff already. We don't really enforce it, but,
Well, some of it is in here to make sure that we continue to do it.
enforce it, yeah. in bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, revisit the requirement of permeable surface driveways in the near shore overlay. We should spell out what it is. What is it? Near Shore Peninsula Overlay District? Did I get that right?
Yep.
But did you want a near shore overlay what?
Near Shore Peninsula Overlay District.
Oh, please.
Going up to bullet 2.
Two.
Explore the fertilizer regulations of other coastal and island communities and adopt the most appropriate policy and practice for Shelter Island.
We've already done
We just
that.
did that
Well, we might have to do it again in the future.
periodically review.
So we can-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Periodically review sounds good.
So take out explore the and put in periodically review?
Yes. Well, don't take out the thought, you're gonna need that later. Detention just seems like a weird word in here. Provide upland stormwater catchment detention,
Retention?
or just stormwater catchment. I don't know, it's just, are we putting the water in jail?
When it's naughty.
I was gonna say, isn't it retention?
Yeah, you can do retention.
Where are we, 7A?
Yeah. So
Big.
7B.
But in A, should we, all right, no, here, wait a minute.
Oh, no, actually detention, stormwater detention basins are places to store potentially damaging floodwaters temporarily until the channels can safely carry the water away. So it kind of
Okay. So
holds
the-
it back and then slowly discharges it,
So
so
it's
you
a
don't
term
get
of
a
art.
surge. It is, yes.
Okay. Isn't that kind of a dry well?
It can be, but there's different ways to do it. It's not always a dry well.
Do we have good drainage requirements to handle runoff on properties?
This kind of expands the concepts that people can use. So instead of just dry wells, it kind of expands it to rain gardens, bioswales, coming up with alternative water capture systems to promote recharge
And you don't want
and
them
natural
everywhere.
filtration.
We gotta be careful, we don't want them everywhere. I mean, part of my property is in between upland and the kettle hole, and nothing's stopping that water.
Yeah,
That's why the kettle hole's there.
right, right. No, but there are certain places where it's appropriate. You know, if people are supposed to be keeping all of their runoff on their property, then maybe in the low corner of your property where water would run into your neighbor, instead you create a bioswale or a rain garden to help keep it there, instead of just a dry well.
To that point of keeping runoff controlled, I think we should really increase, right now the code is 2 inches of rain. I think that should be increased now with the level of rain, the quantity that we're getting now.
Yeah, I think 2 inches is what the engineering standard.
Right, but I think we can increase it. Frankly.
In 7.7B, second paragraph, the town can also encourage coastal residents to create, well, it's create and or maintain existing. Should we, or maintain or expand even, I don't know. If we're gonna try to encourage people to do stuff, Let's encourage it all.
So maybe create and maintain vegetative buffer zones.
That's fine. The references zoning regulations. That's specifically wetlands regulation?
Where are you, where are
Oh,
you
just
putting it?
right below that. Last line of the page. 112.
Creating buffer planting kits and zoning regulations such as buffer zones with minimum planting requirements.
Yeah, so is it a zoning reg, is it a wetlands reg, is it, it's correct? If it's correct, fine, move on.
It would probably be in the wetlands code where you would add it. I think it is in the wetlands code. So wetlands regulations.
You want to reference wetlands code there? Which
No,
is, oh,
change zoning to wetlands
change zoning.
in the last sentence in that page 112.
Okay.
And just further down that sentence, well, actually, it's the next sentence. In addition to residential stormwater management practices, do we have business stormwater management practices as well?
They're typically the same as residential, just at a larger scale. So, I mean,
So we can
Doesn't
take out,
have to.
just say
Yeah.
stormwater management practice plan.
Yeah.
Take out the residential.
Yep.
So. You see, look at Blue Crab. I don't have anything till 7.8b, so.
I need to talk to someone about rescheduling a meeting for tomorrow morning.
okay,
So
Okay.
can do. Anyone have anything on 7.8a?
Nothing from me.
Over anything?
You've gone to 114, so 7.
Yes.
0.8 is 7.8A. On 114, it's A, right, 7.8A.
7.8a
Yeah.
and then b.
I don't think anybody any changes for A.
How about b?
Only comment in B is that first paragraph, it goes on, it is essential that Shelter Island promote sustainable use of these marine habitats.
And resources to ensure they're here for future
Yeah.
generations.
My thought is restrict development. That's the thought.
You can abuse a habitat without developing in it, which is why it's
I'm saying both, though, promote sustainable use and restrict. It's,
It's a more protected measure, yeah.
yeah,
It delineates it.
it's a massively substantive comment, though. But important.
I missed that for 7.8B, but it's.
I think we're talking about a possible change of, it is essential that Shelter Island promote sustainable use and restrict.
No, this is specifically about working in the marine habitat, so it's about
Right.
sustainable fishing and hunting, it's about
marine conservation, controlling coastal development is already in there. Establishing marine protected areas, encouraging responsible fishing practices. Pollution measures, reduce pollution, including runoff
I
from
said,
agriculture or urban areas.
oh, that's my other comment. We're the urban areas.
I would say the Heights is one of the most densely
Urban
developed.
areas?
No, I wasn't saying urban, but it's one of the more densely developed areas.
I haven't found an
So,
urban area.
we'll
so,
say
yeah.
Densely developed instead of
Yeah,
urban.
okay, deal.
Where do you wanna put in densely, which?
So in the third bullet, where it
Yes.
says urban, take out the word urban and say densely developed.
Seven, eight, C,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that needs a whole lot of work.
Well, the reason it
with
says
the
that's because
wetlands
we're already
revision.
currently working on the wetlands
Yeah.
thing. That's
No,
why it's
I
so
know,
short.
But I mean, it's like, my God, that's so important, and there's one thing,
Right.
but it's what it is. I mean, that just
Yeah.
needs a lot of work.
Well, I mean, and it says like, it contains vagueness, contradictions, and confusions that require clarification. It should say rewrite, which is what we're doing, so. We didn't get too in depth because we were already doing it. 7-9.
Indigenous plants. Native plants? I'm sure indigenous, well, let's see what
I mean,
the internet says.
they're the same.
Well, there are some people that may take offense to.
Yeah, I tend to associate indigenous with people, but.
Native
don't know,
species
it's
can
pretty-
be
it can be used for
indigenous
both.
or endemic.
It can be used for both,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. The interwebs has said it's okay. The tree, now this is in 4.4 or something like that, chapter 4? Oh, right.
I think I
Or
think
did
we
we take it out
took
and
out
leave
of
it here?
4 and left
Left
it
it
here.
here. Yeah, that's what we did. I do remember that now. Yeah, big X through it in chapter 4. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yep. Because it was more in-depthly outlined in this chapter.
Got it. I don't understand about the burning, but maybe you can explain it to me.
So we used to have, the DEC didn't have so many regulations around controlled burns, and it really helped keep the tick population and the invasive plant species down. Because when we could periodically burn, it would help give all of the native plants a foothold, and it would eliminate a lot of the ticks. And then the DEC really locked down their restrictions on when you could burn, what kind of permitting you had to get in order to be able to burn. And some of that's because of the increased development, there isn't as much open space. So, I mean, I know this year, Mashamick is able to get a burning permit for the meadow. They do the whole field. I think they're gonna burn 100 something acres. To try to restore back to its, kind of native state and help kill some of the ticks.
Can a regular resident get a burn permit?
Yeah, but the DEC's made it so expensive and difficult to do that it's almost made it prohibitive. So trying to find a way to work with the DEC to make it so that maybe the town could burn more of their larger non-CPF properties, like parklands or something, to help keep the tick population down.
Okay.
7, 8,
Yeah.
A, B, C, E, 7, 8, E. Should we put a line in, eliminate tree topping?
Oh, you're in the adopt a tree?
Yeah.
Okay.
7-9.
You're 7-9B. Gotcha. So that came up and Tim Pertel, who is my tree guru, said that some trees you can top without killing the tree, and other trees, if you top them, you kill them. So it kind of depends on the tree. Maybe you need a permit to do it.
I know that sounds crazy, but I know.
But yeah,
But just sending somebody out to randomly cut trees to enhance the view is,
yeah, it's
Obnoxious.
inappropriate, yeah.
And we're so boring that Lisa Shaw is the last woman standing. Oh, wait, someone's hiding behind Coco now.
Nope, no one's hiding behind Coco.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know, it's just a thing.
there's nobody coming in
I think
now.
it's a good thing. You've got the determination to sit here. I appreciate.
Oh, yeah, for you, it's a
I'm into it.
Yeah. Let's see.
So we're now
Tree
7:10?
replacement, buffer
Or we're still in
zones, tree
7:9?
care and maintenance.
We're in 7:10?
We're in 7-9B.
Okay.
So Albert brought
Oh,
up tree topping. So can we include that into tree care and maintenance maybe in that? So if you go to bullet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or in bullet 2 where it says tree removal permit. So either tree removal or tree care and maintenance.
What do you want to add, Meg?
No tree topping without a permit.
Prohibit tree topping without permit.
Right. So maybe put that in, tree removal permit. Require property owners or developers to obtain a permit before, topping trees, removing designated trees, and trees exceeding a certain size. How's that?
All right, that'll work.
I didn't get it.
I'll tell you, hold on one second. So in bullet number 2,
Right.
where it says, tree removal permit would be, you would require property owners or developers to obtain a permit before topping trees,
Chopping trees. Right?
Yeah.
Right there.
and then it goes, yeah, into everything else.
Okay, great.
Seven, 10?
Sure.
You know, 710A,
Mm-hmm.
Is aggressive action needed? Should it be required? It's only, I don't, without the 4-poster program now, I mean, they're very limited as to what
Yeah, they
can be
are.
done. And is there an urgency that we could put there? A line, is aggressive action needed?
We know the Deer and Tick Committee feels that their kind of hands are tied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so that would make some sense.
I mean,
I think we certainly need a more aggressive culling of the herd.
Yeah,
there's only so much that the hunters can do.
right.
And we're even, Julian's bringing in hunters from Down Island even, and she has that kids training program too.
Yep.
She's doing everything that she can.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they're trying to get people engaged. It's a challenge, especially when we're getting more and more restricted on what properties we're allowed to hunt on.
You can hunt at mine. Any day of the week.
Yeah,
I mean, they were doing a great job. The deer herd numbers were going down, but
Right.
now it's,
yeah. It's like 1 or 2 light years of hunting and the deer population explodes.
and there's 2 does in my yard this spring, and each with 2 fawns.
Yep, I have the same thing.
It's, it's just, used to be 1, then 1.5. Now
I'm getting close to 2.5.
it's 2.
Yeah, if you want to come up with some suggestion for how we can word that in here, Albert, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Which section is it?
For 710A,
710A, okay.
yeah, Albert's going to try to come up with language that strengthens the need to cull the herd
I'd
or
also,
something to that extent.
Oh, but I'd also make a mention of the Benison program at the recycling center, because super popular.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Anything else on here? 710B or C?
You know, Open education for printing, instruction, throwing, dumping, placing, selling. Doesn't Suffolk County have a list of things that you can't plant?
What do you mean? For the, let's see, you mean
The last-
plantings, like?
Well, develop an education program prohibiting the introduction, throwing, dumping. I think there is an invasive species list that exists in Suffolk County.
Yes. But most people don't know about it.
We should put it in here.
Yeah. That's part of the education process. Because you also get people who are like, oh, look, I have a goldfish, I'm throwing it in fresh pond. You know, you get those people too, where, you know, it's like, oh, I'm done with my turtle, we'll put him back in nature, he doesn't belong there. Next thing you know, we're gonna end up with like a Burmese python infestation or something like Florida.
Red-eared sliders are indigenous to New York State.
Pythons are not.
It's been fun.
Another one bites the dust.
Only one left.
I'm right behind you, Lisa.
I hate to do this, but we should finish our agenda,
Yeah,
because I have to go.
So are we gonna put in that list of, or no?
I don't know that we need to include the list here, it's always
Okay.
changing, because they're always updating it. After huge storms, we end up with new invasive species and they update the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go to town board member reports,
Yeah.
because there are some executive session issues that need to get discussed.
Because 8, it's not a controversial chapter at all.
No, I think 8's pretty solid, it's
Yeah.
mostly conservation.
So you can blow through that. on
So we'll do
Friday.
that Friday. All right. So town board member reports around the table.
Who wants to go first? I can do WMAC since that was last night.
Okay. You
Have
can
a look
kick
at
it
my
off.
notes. MAC notes. Was not a long meeting, nothing crazy. There was a very light informal discussion about extending the homeland water boundary to 1,500 feet. See if we can gain more control of our inland waters.
I thought it already was 1,500 feet. We have control 500 feet?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that we had jurisdiction up to 1,500 feet around the island. I know, sorry, we bombarded you with that.
Well, it was only a light discussion, but it's a harbinger of a deeper discussion going forward on the committee. Dredging has begun at Dixon Creek. We heard the report from
Wait, where are we?
Joe.
So
We
we
finished
finished
that.
chapter 7,
Uh-huh.
and so then we're just doing board member reports. Then start talking about WMAC.
What happened to chapter 8?
We'll get there.
Ben needs to leave.
Oh, okay, okay, I'm just trying to, I'm walking back in, I didn't know, like.
And chapter 8 is pretty
He's
much,
already done his rewriting that.
So then chapter 8 is, so Christina, we need to amend Friday's agenda.
chapter 8.
So
8,
the
9, and 10.
8, 9, and 10, okay.
Right?
Okay, all right, so sorry. Okay, I'm back on track. What? Yeah, for ordering lunch, yeah.
Dredging has begun, starting Dickerson Creek. We heard the report from Mr. Fenora. Our Bay Constable, Bo Payne, made a pitch for a new buoy tender. The one that they're operating with now is 40 years old and it's sort of past its useful life. He wants to start working on an RFP to build a new one, a new aluminum buoy tender. The cost of just doing the RFP is about $4,500, which WMAC has.
The design cost.
Yeah, design for the.
Not to interrupt you.
Oh, sorry. No. The cost of the design and prepare is $4,500. And that money can come from the WMAC, but if we finally get to the point of building this new buoy tender, it's about $150K. And we have time to look for grants and things like that.
Okay.
There were a couple dock applications that we talked about the revisions of the dock code, which you heard about today as well. Move the mooring. We talked about a jetty replacement. And we heard from Jack Costello about the pros and cons of jetties in general, plus this specific one. He felt it was important to get it rebuilt quickly. It's down on Shell Beach. And we also heard about 169 Ram Island Drive, the Loftus problem, which we heard about today as well. And that was pretty much it.
I have one thing to add, Ben, if you're done, sorry.
Oh, I'm done, go ahead.
There was talk, the discussion, that there's no law that requires a homeowner to repair their bulkhead.
That's true. We did talk about that.
Yeah, that's true. Unless it's a navigational hazard. If it's falling apart and chunks are flowing into the water, then we can require them to fix it, but
That's all, just an issue that they threw out on the table.
It's usually the homeowners who lose their property if that's the case.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's going to affect the neighbors as
Yeah.
well. Some instances, that's the issue. I mean, they let it go.
Well, now we have in the new dock code, we do have a clause for if that's happening. We can require that they fix it or we fix it and pay for it. So we do kind of solve that. Do you have anything else, Albert?
No, that's it. I was just looking at that.
Ben, you got anything else?
I don't think so. I'm just looking back. I mean, it was Labor Day.
Yeah, that is true.
So actually, no, I don't have anything else.
Actually, you did yours. Did anybody else do theirs?
I have, So there was a Smarter Irrigation Subcommittee meeting. We met at Stella's office in the Heights to just discuss sort of the path forward for addressing irrigation issues on the island. And so it's kind of a brainstorming session. We're going to try to meet a little bit more frequently to come up with some ideas, but we left it that everybody would review the current irrigation code, come up with their own ideas and concepts, and then bring them to the table, and we would kind of come up with some kind of idea to move forward from there. And then, other than that, ETIC is still moving forward. We're collecting the last bit of information they need for their reports, and that's it.
Oh, and in that vein, I am going to attend the Island Environmental Conference in Alaska for the Green Options Committee.
through the Island Institute program.
What was that? Could you repeat that?
Let's go to Alaska.
Go to Alaska for the Island Institute program. They're having a conference in Fairbanks, Alaska, September 30th and October 1st. So I'm going to make the trip to Alaska to sit in that for the town. And I'll be joined by other islands, Block Island,
Okay. All right.
Martha's Vineyard, they'll be there. So I'll be there representing Shelter Island.
Great.
And at no cost to the town.
Yeah.
Right.
no cost to the town.
That's, yeah. And
You'll do us proud.
the National Renewable Laboratory is co-hosting it, so they're helping to fund it.
All right, so you won't be here for the October 1st work session.
No.
Okay, just.
That's
Our
the second
jurisdiction
day of the
is-
conference.
Our jurisdiction is 1,500 feet from shore.
Really?
Yeah, Chief just confirmed it for me.
Oh. Does that include moorings and,
Yes.
okay.
Who's up next? I got stuff.
Yeah, that's it. I got, that's all I know. Albert?
Okay. All right, reminder, tomorrow is the September 11th memorial service at 6 PM outside of the Center Firehouse. And WQI met this past week. It's just, yeah, there's rebate applications are, trickling in again, which is always a good thing. And there was discussion about ADU funding of IA systems and whether or not we could locally give grants. And I think we need to, I think the age-old question on that has been, is it considered growth? So we may need, when that committee gets formed, to pose that question to them to see whether or not we could do local grants on those.
Well, we also have to see if the revision of the code doesn't have that stipulation.
Right, yes. They are going to start reaching out to homeowners associations and see if they can come to a November meeting just to try and get localized support to sort of sell, like, hey, don't you homeowners association want to work together and start implementing and applying for voluntary IA system installations? West Neck CPF met yesterday. West Neck Preserve, they've been doing the whole plan for the redevelopment of that property. And so they recently came in and turned over the soil again. They're trying to kill off the mugwort. So we'll see that, if you go by there, you'll see what they've been doing. And that's what the plan is, trying to do that. They're working on various stewardship plans, and they should be picking up next month the CPF acquisition plan and getting that back on the agenda so we can start working on that again. Capital planning, just quickly there, Ferry flood mitigation project, spent just under 30,000, but it's moving along nicely. We're looking at roof reimbursement and household hazardous waste reimbursements, just getting some of those monies back, as well as Ferry flood mitigation. We're going to try and submit at least one reimbursement request so we can get the money back in the same year that it was expended. Part of that, and just talking with Jen Mezziano, she's the person who hooked us up with the Department of State representative, who is part of the local waterfront revitalization program. So we're still trying to get that person to come to one of our work sessions to just go over what's entailed in a local waterfront revitalization plan. Because I think a lot of people, when they look at it, they think Greenport, Mitchell Park, where it was development. And that's not all that gets covered in an LWRP. Like there's protections. Protections that can be built in and what we want our waterfront to look like. So that should be an interesting discussion, hopefully in October. Let's see. Nothing new on the 114. Ambulance barn. Ken has a bid on the ambulance barn. The front of it, there's been like, the size of the ambulances just keep getting bigger and bigger. So we need to do something. So that was put into the capital budget. I think it might have been in 2022, this maybe 2023. So it's moving forward. Unfortunately, it's a little bit more than budgeted. We had budgeted 90,000. We need 150.
150?
Yeah, I guess we're going to be accepting that bid on Monday. So yeah, 153,000. There was 15,000 in 2024 capital budget reserves that we had put in last year, so we can pull that. So we just need another 48,000. Some of the money that in the capital budget last year was coming from ARPA money, and the facilities master plan was not part of, is not ARPA money eligible. So we can take that money and put it towards this building cost.
How much
So,
was that?
we had 65,000.
Oh, so I'll cover the 48.
Yes, yeah, so we're good there. And as far as the facilities master plan goes, we did meet, a few of us, with an engineering consulting firm. We had started this dialogue a year ago, and then it just kind of tanked last year with elections and things like that. But I'm hoping that the first stage of that, which is a needs assessment for what we're doing, will come in less than that. We'll just have to figure out how to pay for that since it's not ARPA eligible. But work on that, and we'll see. Hopefully the estimate was higher than what we actually need. But that's help us understand what we're, a future potential with like this section of the campus, so that can inform how we move forward with the Suffolk County drinking water requirements that we're subject to, and also for putting in an IA system. Like, if we can sort of foresee the future, like, will we still have these 3 buildings, or will we do something differently and incorporate them? And like, any kind of project is years off, but if we kind of have a plan for how to move forward, then we can at least cite an IA system where it won't interfere with future potential, and hook it up now, and then just amend later. So like, we want to make sure we don't put the cart before the horse, so.
But luckily, the Justice Hall and the police station and the fire station aren't going anywhere.
Right, yeah. Fire station, that's a whole nother thing, because it's a different municipal entity. So like, that's going to require a different conversation and willingness on the part of the
Different
fire
jurisdiction.
commission, for the fire commissioners to want to take on a project like that. But we can at least work on Justice Court, we can work on PD, we can look at possibly the community center, but again, that's too complicated. It's complicated, and also what's the future look of that?
Yeah.
The senior building, so we can look at a few things. So it's all in process, but.
What do you mean the future use of
The
the
community.
community center?
If we decide someday to move the nutrition program out of the Presbyterian Church, if we decide to move the seniors out of the basement of the medical center.
No, just
Yeah,
if you know.
So, could we do something that incorporates, the seniors, there's trying to figure out how to use that building so that we can incorporate the seniors, the exercise and recreation programs, and also the after-school programs of the kids. Like, is there a way to integrate and, timing of things? So that would be part of what this consulting engineering firm would help us look at, is just how to use. And they're like, so you want flexible use of things? It's like, yes, we need flexibility. So, yeah. And then lastly, I've been working with Ken, did another site visit. He is working on the goodie pile and how to incorporate the pieces that people want from the C&D piles into the whole area down there. And so went down, he's met with a couple of the people who come in for, to talk to us about the closure, and had some good ideas. If you've been down there recently, you'll see that the goodie pile area.
Yeah, something's going on, yeah.
Yeah, it's like cleaned up, reorganized. They cleaned out a lot of stuff. The the people who are, the pickers and the people who are interested in it have been helping to kind of wade through and look at stuff.
Great solution.
And he's got some other ideas for the space behind the goodie pile to, accept stuff, construction and debris stuff that's useful and can be pulled out. So he's working on it. He's not ready to present the plan because he's trying to work through, but he's already making modifications to what's going on. So some of the people that he met with and talked to, are happy about the direction that he's going in. Of course, when I was down there taking some stuff from my old office in there, and it's like, we're not going to be happy till we can go in the back again. But other people are like, this is really good. And then there's also people who, people who drop off at construction debris, who are like very happy that they're not having to worry about weaving in and out of people and cars having to move before they can actually get in and do stuff. So, but he's working and he's talking to the, the community, and there are some good ideas. So it looks like it will be a good plan as he continues to move forward.
He sent me a note about it. Oh, I think you covered most of it, but he just said that he's trying to prepare an area adjacent to the goodie pile to take in clean lumber, larger pieces of furniture, table saws, working barbecues, things like that, along with lawn care items. So that's kind of where he's looking to try to expand. So he's working on it. So if it looks a little weird, that's what he's doing.
I could use a tip, so.
Just, different kind of tools and stuff that people would drop off.
Yeah.
That's really good that there's some positive progress there. It makes me happy. At least.
Yes, yeah, no. And, he scheduled a couple meetings and then said, okay, let me run this by you. What do you think? So, looks good.
Motion to adjourn?
No.
Or no, go to
No,
the
to go
executive
executive session. We had legal advice on here, but that won't happen because
No,
Stephen is not here. But we do have a contract negotiation to look at and a personnel issue.
Okay,
Motion to go into executive session for those reasons.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.